so that it's fair for everyone and that all cameras can get their pictures. Thank you. Right. Thanks, everyone. As the Global Sumud Flotilla and the global movement to Gaza, and the ground team from South Africa, which was made up of a number of different solidarity organizations and trade unions, we welcome the media today for this press conference, but mostly we are welcoming our comrades who were part of the Global Sumud Flotilla, which was intercepted, we know, in international waters illegally. But today we want to hear from our comrades. I know they are tired. There are 6 comrades that were part of the flotilla. There are also 3 additional comrades with us here who were meant to join, but for circumstances of space on the boats, they returned and hopefully will join the next flotilla. And just to give you an update, that the Freedom Flotilla that sailed yesterday was intercepted this morning at 4:30. So another 180 people have been illegally detained about 120 nautical miles from the Gaza coast this morning. But the flotillas will keep sailing. I'm going to hand over to Comrade Mandla Mandela to present to us just a quick report, and then I will manage the questions from the photographers. You'll identify your organization, your institution that you work, and give your name, and then you'll ask your question. Thank you. Comrade Mandela.
Thank you, Comrade. Let me say good morning to everyone that is here to receive us as fellow South Africans. I have with our delegation Zukiswa, with Raiz and Zahira, Fatima and Carrie, who were part of the Global Sumud Flotilla. But I think today it is about the thousands of ordinary women and men that have served this cause. We want to first and foremost acknowledge those ordinary women and men that made this Global Sumud Flotilla possible. They always operate in the shadows and are never known and recognized. We want as a collective to thank you for having come together and ensured that we were able to see this mission through. Let me also acknowledge our donors.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Mandla!
Away to!
Mandla!
Away to!
Mandla!
Away to!
Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry!
No, never don't you cry!
We will never let you die!
We will never let you die!
Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry!
Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry!
We will never let you die!
We will never let you die!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Many of us have no resources to see this work through. Yet, with the support of our donors, we were able, as South Africa, to have a boat to carry us to the mission. I therefore want to thank the donors who have supported us and made sure that we were able to be part of this mission. Their names always remain in the shadows and they never get acknowledged. In April 2024, we were stuck in Istanbul with the Freedom Flotilla, and we were never able to sail. With their determination, their support, we were able to put together the Global March to Gaza, where we mobilized 4,000 activists from 80 different countries. We flew to Cairo, those that managed to get to Cairo, many of whom were even denied the opportunity to even access Cairo. Egyptian Air cancelled the flight here in OR Tambo, preventing many of our comrades from going to participate. Those that eventually made it were first denied entry at Cairo airport, but many of us could only get to the second checkpoint. Therefore, we failed to get to the Rafah border crossing and get the much needed humanitarian aid. But what is worth noting about that particular mission is that this is what Egypt and the Egyptian government has been saying it's supporting and calling. They called for an immediate ceasefire and the opening of the Rafah border to allow humanitarian aid to flow freely into Gaza. Yet when we came to support their position, they denied us the opportunity to get there. So we failed to realize the mission by land. Once again, the Freedom Flotilla, the Global March to Gaza, and the Global Sumud Convoy came together to put this mission together. The Global Sumud Flotilla was born from a need of each country to mobilize boats so we can have thousands of boats sailing to Gaza. We took that upon ourselves on returning to South Africa with ordinary men and women crisscrossing the country, going to every single solidarity group in South Africa, from the Palestinian Solidarity Association to the South African PDS Coalition, to Africa for Palestine, to the South African Jewish Voice for Palestine. Every solidarity group wanted to come together and have a boat sail in their name. Due to limited resources, we couldn't realize that. We also tried to club by metros, Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. Still, we couldn't realize that. With the assistance of our donors, we were able to procure a boat for 115,000 euros, which was a boat we bought through our comrades in Tunisia from Monastir, and we had it taken to Tunisia. But why was it important for us as South Africans to be part of this mission? It is worth noting that we are a country born out of resistance. From the first settler colonialist that landed in the Cape in 1510, led by Francois Almeida, with the resistance of the Khoi and the San people, they were totally eliminated as we refused settler colonialists on our land. But what is also important for South Africans to note is that the 1884 Berlin Conference robbed us of our land and enforced borders upon our continent for the beneficiary of 7 colonial states, that being Belgium, Germany, UK, Spain, Portugal, and Italy, France included. We are a country, just as Palestinians are being forced with an Israeli identity, we were forced to embrace a South African identity which was posed by Westminster. We sent a delegation in September 1909, led by President Dr. Walter Benson Khubusana of the South African Native Congress, accompanied by Dr. Abdurrahman of APO. This delegation went to London in September 1909, rejected Westminster from establishing a union government of South Africa. They were never successful in their defense of indigenous South Africans. We, as this collective, acknowledge that past and that history. We left from the southern tip of Africa and went to the northern tip of Africa in Tunisia, because just like our founding father of our nascent democracy and our global icon went to Tunisia on the 27th of February 1962, because he knew very well, in order to effectively fight the apartheid regime, we needed to build solidarity with the international community. And therefore it was important for us as Africans to sail from an African point. And we are proud to have been joined by Somalia, Senegal, Morocco, Algeria, as well as Tunisia. The Global Sumud Flotilla sailed on the 31st of August out of Barcelona. My comrade and brother Tiago wanted me to sail with the Brazilians, but our donors called on me to go with our fellow South Africans, and as a patriot, I could not deny that. And therefore, coming to Tunisia and being warmly received by the Tunisians, it showed a spirit of Ubuntu, and that Africa was united and speaking with one voice in support of the Palestinian struggle. But we had no doubts, because we know that President Ben Ali, on his visit to our shores, was given an honor by our government for his role in supporting the refugees that were in Beirut in 1982 and gave them homes in Tunisia. So the welcoming of the Global Sumud Flotilla, when it arrived in Tunisia, with all delegates coming there, can never be underscored. We were not meant to dock in Tunisia, but it was a temporary stop to gather with our comrades. But there were 30,000 participants that registered for this mission. And we had a few boats. With the boats that we had, which were totaling about 70 boats at the time, we found out that many of the boats that were being procured, particularly from our Turkish delegation, were fishermen boats and were not worthy for the mission, and therefore had to scale down in numbers. The boat that we had bought as South Africa, which was Florida, could take 10 passengers with 4 crew members. And we were certain that as a delegation of 10, we would all be able to sail. But with the realization of the challenges we were facing, we had to downscale. So some of our comrades had to take a position to be from the land support. And I want to thank you, comrades, for having been bold and say it was important for us to see the mission through. It was not about us as individuals, but it was about the Palestinians in Gaza. So Faisal, Jared, and Ilem, who's in Morocco, we will, on Nurain, who fell sick when we were there in Tunisia, we will forever be indebted to you as this collective. Because, and Irshad, we as a collective on our journey continued to draw strength from you. We relied on every information that you fed us from home to be able to communicate South Africa's position. What we embarked on, we knew that it was not going to be easy. And therefore, while we were in Tunisia, we found ourselves victims to the attacks of the apartheid Israel regime. The family boat, as well as Alma, were bombed on a sovereign state, that being Tunisia. But this was anticipated because we know very well that apartheid Israel has acted with impunity, attacking sovereign states, Lebanon, Iran, Syria, Yemen, of recent Doha in Qatar, and we were no exception. Israeli forces continue to attack and kill as they wish. But we were able to extinguish the fires and come to the realization that we needed to set sail with utmost urgency. And therefore, we left with the 18 boats that had managed to come from Barcelona. There were 21 in total, of which 3 of them were damaged in the attempt of trying to get to Tunisia. We were also joined by the 18 boats out of Tunisia, and we set sail to Greece. In Crete, we were joined by another 6 boats and 10 from the Italian flotilla. Comrades, if there's anything that we can be proud of and applaud, is that as we called in the Freedom Flotilla in Istanbul that we want to see a wave of boats sailing to Gaza, the Global Sumud Flotilla has on record become the largest ever flotilla ever witnessed. But what is also worth taking note is that a humanitarian mission was supported by the Italian Navy and the Spanish Navy. Even though when we crossed the yellow zone, they withdrew their ships. We were also accompanied by the Turkish drones that were hovering above us and feeding us information on a daily basis as we sailed closer and closer to Gaza. We thank the Turkish government, the Turkish people, and the NGOs, particularly TICA and the, Red Crescent, that through the naval boats, they brought humanitarian aid onto the Alma boat. As we remained on the waters of Greece, the Greek government provided security and brought their naval ship with 2 coastal guard boats that were protecting us. But the family boat was sabotaged, and this was our command center where Tiago, Rima, and other comrades of ours were as the steering committee. We had to onboard them onto our boat as Alma, which I was on, with Greta, Yasmin, and other members. But with us, 2 comrades, Zukiswa and Riaz, remained on our South African boat, Florida, which was named Anas Sheris, as well as Zahira and Fatima were on Amsterdam, with Zahira later being deployed to another boat. Which boat were you? Wahoo. Carrie was on Wahoo as well. So we set sail, focusing on fulfilling our mission. I want to be clear on this, comrades, that ours was a humanitarian mission. It was a non-violent mission that sought to break the blockade and end the siege that has been ongoing for 18 years, enabling humanitarian aid to get to our brothers and sisters in Gaza. We anticipated two scenarios: that we will be successful in our mission and get to Gaza, or we will be intercepted by apartheid Israel. As we now know, we were intercepted on international waters, which is a violation of international law, maritime law, and a violation of our human rights. 47 of our boats were intercepted. We were detained by apartheid Israel Navy and taken to Ashdod, many of whom were denied food as we sailed to Ashdod. On our arrival in Ashdod, we came to the realization that there will never be justice on stolen land. And we were harshly dealt with by the brutal Israeli regime. And many of you by now have seen how our comrade and sister, a young woman, Greta, at the age of 22, was harassed by the Israeli regime. We were handcuffed with cable ties, tied tightly behind our backs, taken off our boats, and put on the platform, paraded for all the Israelis and the allies in Europe and the West and the global community to see. And in the midst of all of that, the Israelis sent their best at us. Ben Gvir came whilst I was still on the Alma boat with an MP from France, Emma, and Ibrahim, and one other comrade from Morocco, and a delegation of Libyans. And he insisted he wanted to come and address us, particularly because I was on the boat. But the irony of this is that what you would regard as the second in command in Israel was rejected by an ordinary captain in the police and told, no, you can't address individuals, move. And he was ushered to the side and denied that opportunity because he wanted to dehumanize us. But as our heads were shoved down and with our hands tied on our backs, we were pushed down and taken onto the platform to join our other comrades. In his desperate attempt, he still wanted to walk side by side with me so I can be captured on video. This is the desperation of a collapsing entity. On arriving on the platform, we realized that many of our comrades, almost just under 500 of them, had been sitting there. And Greta, who was the first, had been put on the corner, and I was made to sit in the same line at the end with the rest of our comrades deployed everywhere else. I think Zugiswa as well as Raiz were put in the front from where I could see. Zahira came and sat in front of me on the last end. And in their best attempt, Nkuvira came in the front and wanted to give an intellectual speech. And he came saying, "You support baby killers, you terrorists." And I froze in disbelief. This was the best Israel could send, and he had nothing to say. And in our unity, we all started shouting, "Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
We are not baby killers, you are the baby killers." And he had no response. Comrades, a people united can never be defeated. That was illustrated in Ashdod. And we sent Nkuvira home packing. And we were subjected to all forms of brutality from then. But it's nothing compared to what Palestinians have been subjected to on a daily basis. We were kidnapped on international waters. Palestinians are attacked, maimed, and killed. At the end of this press conference, you can tally the number of babies, women, and men that have been killed. So, this can never be about us. The narrative has to constantly be about the Palestinians and the atrocities that are daily meted against them. We were taken south to Gaza, about 10 kilometers out of Gaza. I think the prison is called Kizot, that we were detained in. Every single item we had was stolen, just as the Palestinian culture has been stolen, Palestinian lands have been stolen, and everything of the Palestinians has been systemically erased. This, comrades, is what we were subjected to. Whilst many of our comrades were offered opportunity to shower, they ensured that the South African delegation was denied this. But we understood very well why that is so. Because we are a nation that dared, through our government, to take apartheid Israel to the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court and hold them accountable, not for the 2 years of genocide, but for the 77 years of the catastrophe that has gone unabated since the Nakba. Comrades,
now, by the way.
we remain steadfast and resilient. We will not be deterred even when we were denied legal representation, forced to sign that we have entered apartheid Israel illegally, we refused to be subjected to that. And Zukiswa will say it best, that no, we were not coming to Israel. We were not coming to recognize this entity. Ours was a solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and we were going to Gaza. Therefore, we will not sign that we entered Israel illegally. They offered us a second form, which said we would want to be released within 72 hours and be sent immediately to our respective countries. We also refused to sign that, and saying that we will leave without having signed anything and with no conditions. We were detained there, but I think, again, our experience of the 6 days being there will never be about us, but it will be about the memory of what was on the walls within those prisons. We came to the realization of all Palestinians that have been detained there, who have left their names on the walls, who have left their blood stains on the walls, who have been martyred within those walls. This is the memory we will continue to carry until Palestine is liberated. Comrades, we were denied all legal representation and even engagement with our diplomats in an attempt to save their face. They simply brought them in so that we could see we had representation. And 2 minutes we were given to give this entire narrative that we have given. And as a result, we could not give real meaning to the experience of being there. And when we were being released, again, they made sure that we were the last to be released. I remember them dragging Tiago out from cell 1, who was determined to not leave any comrade behind. And Yasmin in the women's side was also determined to be the last to be taken. But they were the first to be taken out, and we were kept behind. I was on cell 15, and they went and made sure that everyone else was out. When they came to cell 15, they took everyone else and made sure I was the last. This was their everlasting message to South Africa, to you and I, to all of us as a nation. But when we left, with a smile, I said to them, we will return. We are unshaken and already arriving here at home, we will begin working on Flotilla number 2. Comrades, our second wave has been intercepted with 180 of our comrades from the 1,000 Medellin arrested. In the conscience. These were journalists like yourselves and doctors that had pledged their support with journalists and doctors in Gaza. I hope as journalists you will draw courage from that and you will be a voice of not only those journalists captured, but the journalists in Gaza that continue to be subjected to the brutality of apartheid Israel. We have come to the end of the sailing season, which will open again in May 2026. We have to go back to the table and come up with strategy and tactics for Flotilla number 2. But we have already said to the steering committee that the global march to Gaza also needs to be put into effect and look at another avenue of entering occupied Palestine. If we were refused entry through Egypt, we have to look at other avenues. So we call on each and every one of you, all solidarity groups, to come together and look at strategies as to how we can be able to put together another mission. But comrades, we know very well how all of you rallied behind the call for our immediate release. And within 6 days, we have been able to return home to our loved ones. Now, I want to say to you, on behalf of this entire collective, with the same zeal that you showed in our support, we need that given to the Palestinians on every hour, on every day, every week, and every month. We will not rest until the genocide has been brought to an end.
Mandla!
But let us enforce the resolutions undertaken by the Hague Group. We want you to read what the Hague Group has put out. They have said that all companies that are complicit must be arrested, must be prosecuted, and must be dealt with. Now we call on our government, as you have been able to take the apartheid Israel to the ICJ and ICC, we call on you to arrest all those that are complicit in fueling the genocide and selling coal to apartheid Israel. We call on the government with immediate effect to stop any coal that is being exported to apartheid Israel. We call on the government to ensure that all those that have participated in the genocide in apartheid Israel, that have enabled the IOF to carry on its genocide and systematic ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, to be arrested and prosecuted. We have, through the Ministry of Defense, an act that enables government to do that. The Foreign Military Assistance Act prohibits any South Africans from supporting any military outside our borders. We have 149 cases from 2014 to 2020. But during this genocide, Ziad Patel has already provided the NPA with about 58 cases. We call for those to be immediately arrested. We want to thank you, comrades, for having made this day possible, for bringing us home safe. Every mission is only successful when we have been able to account for every comrade and brother and sister of ours in the mission. And we have been able to bring them back safe home to their loved ones. Do not forget that 6 of our comrades remain behind in Israeli jails. We have 1 Spanish, 2 Moroccans, and 3 Norwegians.
And 1 Nigerian.
No, the Nigerian hasn't been confirmed. I've been given these 6.
Okay.
So we call on all solidarity groups to make sure that you call for their immediate release. Thank you, comrades. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Thank you.
Comrade Sebe, can I release you to speak to the crowd outside? They're a bit restless.
Okay.
Okay. I'll ask from the team if anyone wants to speak for a short time. We have a huge crowd outside which is getting restless. So if anyone from the team wishes to say anything, the floor is yours. Just keep it short.
Let's just go outside, guys.
Just say one
you
thing
okay?
each. Do you want to say anything?
No, let's just go outside.
Can we take
So that
questions?
people don't.
We can take questions.
I will take. Okay.
Take questions,
So we're
guys.
gonna
Take questions.
some
We take
then.
questions.
But please,
Yes.
yeah.
Anyone who responds can come and sit here.
Okay. Thank you. Let's get another chair there, please.
No, it's fine.
We can just move around. We'll just move
That's
around.
fine. We'll put another chair.
No, it's
All right.
okay to stay. Don't disrupt.
Juanita, you can ask your question.
Thank you very much. Juanita Hunter from News from Africa. To any one of the participants of the Global Sumud Flotilla, was there any moment of regret that you had for joining the mission during the sale or during the interception that you thought, I shouldn't have been on that mission? And secondly, Mr. Mandela spoke about doing it again. Is this something that you would do again? The third question that I have is, can you detail those 6 days? What did you do for those 6 days?
We don't have time
while
for that.
there was obviously
We don't have time for that.
mobilization? Thank you very much.
Okay. Who's taking it?
Zaira.
Dr. Zaira?
Sure. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, but I think my fellow comrades will say the same thing. I don't think any of us have a single regret for joining the Global Sumud Flotilla. It doesn't mean it was easy. It was a very difficult journey, but like Mandla said, it's nothing in comparison to what the people of Gaza face every single minute of every day. But there wasn't a single regret from any of us at any moment in time, even in our hardest moments, that this is exactly where we wanted to be and needed to be in that moment. And this is the mission we wanted to be on. Again, I'll speak on behalf of myself, but I think my comrades that are sitting here, as well as the 5 that did not join us, will equally say, yes, we will commit to another mission again. Because until the genocide is ended, we will not stop.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Griselda Lewis from SABC Television News. To any of the members, at any point, Mr. Mandela, you spoke about being tied with cable ties, being deprived of food. At any point, and I apologize for asking this, did you fear for your lives at any point? Your families were very concerned for your safety back here in South Africa. And secondly, on the Israeli government basically put out a tweet saying, after it had been announced that she'd be coming back to South Africa, they said, well, that's taxpayers' money. It's fine. Go ahead. Let's clear the air, because definitely disinformation or misinformation could be spread quite fast. So let's get clarity on that this was actually funded by those in solidarity. And
Is
had
their
nothing to do
taxpayers'
with
money?
the South African government.
Who's taxpayers?
Okay,
To respond,
take